Everyone, I'm Ichi. Welcome to the Wezesha Presents Empowering the KenyaRican. So who's a KenyaRican? You know, people always ask me, well, what's KenyaRican? So KenyaRican is a term of endearment, right? It means American-born or raised kid of a Kenyan parent. So we coined that term, like, I think it was 2 years ago. I was sitting with some kids and I'm asking them, are you American? Are you Kenyan? They identify as Americans because they were born in America, but then their parents are trying to impose Kenyanism in them. So that's where KenyaRican came from, right? And I mean, we're going to dive into some real talk this next couple of weeks, but today I really want to talk about college education. So who is this series for? This series is for us parents, right? Kenyan parents or immigrant parents or guardians trying to navigate the US system and also connect with their kids. But the series is also for these kids, and that's why it's called Empowering the KenyaRican, because it's to give them information, support, opportunity, all these things that can help them navigate this often confusing world, because there's a cultural element and a generational element that's really confusing. And I also want to acknowledge, as Kenyan-born parents, like, we want to carry our values from Kenya over here. We want to carry the CPE, KCSE, the school owns the responsibility of educating the child. We want to carry that, but we have to be aware of the fact that our kids are in state O, and we need to empower them through information. So that's why we're having this. So before I introduce you, Eve, let me talk about who sponsors this. So Wezesha Academy, upskilling you to a six-figure income, and the consulting arm is for helping build a winning business. So if any of you are looking to upskill or looking to take your business to the next level, Wezesha is there for you. I see Florence here. Florence helps parents and teens build strong relationships using Unlocked Greatness. We'll see her next week. We'll talk to her next week. I'm really excited about that. But today it's Eve. Eve speaks. For me, Eve is not just an expert in education. I used her, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I was going through something that a lot of you parents are probably going through, which is receiving all these emails from the school saying, choose the class. You're like, what do you mean choose the class? Kwani, the class isn't chosen for me? Or you're getting these emails from counselors saying, your child is no longer in this class, we're putting them in this class. And you say, okay, I guess that's how it is. So Eve is going to tell us and break all that down for us. So Eve, you're not just an expert, but I think you bridge that cultural and generation gap that we're having by the work that you do. So go for it, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Wow. Thanks for this, Ichi. I must have started there. And also, thank you guys for joining and being on time. That is so crucial in this American system of doing things to Acho Kenya. I hope people understand Swahili, but we'll try to stick to English. Thanks. I see some of my moms over here, some people who have engaged me previously. I see Lillian, thank you for joining. I see Aunt Gadenji. I can't even populate the whole list, but anybody who's here, who's used me in the previous years and stuff, thank you so much for joining. And I'll probably be calling you on new guys, so. Eve Kabaya speaks is just because I was trying to be all fancy and stuff to find a brand name that goes with what I do, because I try to speak tips for the students and parents to be able to understand the high school to college pipeline. I am a mom. I'm a mom of 2. Zuri is going to be 21 in 2 weeks. And Zion is a junior in high school right now, so I'm going down the rabbit hole again. And I have worked in the educational software space for about 18 years now, so I love it. This is what introduced me to understanding how the American system works. And then when my own child got into middle school, I literally got that letter that Ichi is talking about selecting the courses. And I was like, okay, we never had to do this in elementary school. I don't know what's going on. So let me dig in. And literally starting from that research is what led me down this path, if you want to say, of settling high school students into the future. And then when my own child was pretty successful, she's a junior now in college, I realized a lot of parents do not know what it entails, the work that is done behind the scenes to get kids in really good colleges, and on top of that, with scholarships. And so I decided this is going to be the new path, the new purpose in my life, to enlighten families, to educate families, to empower families, to get to their kids to the next level. And so that is why we're here, and that is the work that I do.
Eve, I can't wait to ask you all these questions that a lot of people have. But before that, I'm going to ask you some unscripted questions. I told you that I'll ask you some unscripted questions.
Yes.
So here goes. You can only choose one.
Okay.
And then you have to say why. Okay.
Okay.
In Stato, they call it math, but we used to call it maths. Maths or physics?
Oh, maths.
Why?
It's more general. Physics is very narrow. It uses math, but I think it's going deeper into math. So math is more general. So for me, I don't need to be so cranked up. So yeah, basic math for me.
Chemistry or biology?
That is an interesting one. The funny thing is, my mother was, before she passed on, was a teacher in Egerton University, and she taught chemistry. And so me thinking I could get help with chemistry, because I was so poor in chemistry, from my mother was such a conundrum, because her level of education was so high up. Like, you can think like someone who's used to teaching college kids, and me being in high school, and I'm like, atuelewani. So I hated chemistry for that. And to this day, I still do not understand why would someone study chemistry for life.
I don't either. Bunsen burners, and I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. I will stick with biology.
What was your biggest fear in high school in terms of like subjects?
I don't think I had a fear. I just had a fear of not failing generally. I don't think in terms of subjects, because I think my subjects were pretty okay. We had a choice to take, like, you know how you could take between agriculture and commerce and things like that, because I was intending to be BCom. So yeah, we had options like that, but I don't think it was fear of one particular subject, but it was just fear of failing generally, because, you know, KCSE is KCSE, do or die.
Yeah, I think that's a one theme that we had in Kenya, was failure was very punitive, right?
Yeah.
It was punitive to the extent that if you failed a certain subject, like I have friends who wanted to do medicine, but because they failed something, they ended up doing agriculture, right? So extremes. And then some of us were fortunate, we got the right classes to put us in BCom, but it's because we didn't aspire for medicine or engineer or any of that stuff, right? So now let's kind of dive into this, right? So question I have for you is, and you talked a little bit about it, but I want to dig deeper into, why is this an important topic for you?
Mainly because, if anything, I'm a mother first. And as parents, we want the best for our kids. And by extension, my kids' friends were my first, like, cohort, if you want to say it. It was Zuri and her two best friends I worked with my first year, didn't charge or anything like that. And I realized I just love seeing kids win. And so I'm passionate about that, because I want to see every child have the opportunity. And we leave so much money on the table in the American system. These schools have such big endowments for scholarships, but we don't do the work that deserves that money, because even a scholarship is like a job application. You need some sort of criteria to match, some eligibility, some experience to show, some volunteerism to show. So when I realized we miss out and when I say we, I mean the Kenyan community, the immigrant
Yeah.
community, compared to Americans who know beforehand that that's the goal. So they kind of create the activities and the things that they need to acquire that scholarship money in the end. We leave that kind of money on the table. And then just understanding that we have to play on the kids' strengths. It's not just taking classes and doing random things at school or on Saturday or on summer break or whatever. It has to be sharpened towards a particular goal. So realizing that we miss out on that important factor, which differentiates a child, one child who's an A student, but missing out on these other things, and a child who's a B student, but has this other package that comes along to make them a strong candidate when they're applying to colleges. So that's why I'm really passionate about this work. I don't talk about it enough as I should. The introvert in me is still trying to get out of my shell. But those who I work with can be a testament to the work that I do, honestly.
I love it because I remember, again, going back to my experience 3 weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. I've known you for maybe a couple of years, or I've heard about you. I think I saw Lillian here. TJ, I see him at Smoothie King all the time. And he went to, he went to college. And so he told me, you must be very intentional about your child. And you must speak to Eve, right? So I did the Kenyan thing. I said, well, Chelsea is they call them freshmen, as we know them as Form 1. So I said, I'll wait until she's in Form 4, then I'll come to Eve, because that's what we did back in the day. You wait until the final year, and that's when you semi-engage.
Yeah.
Why is it wrong to wait until the last year? And when is the right year to start engaging with people like you to align your kid toward college?
Yeah, and that's crucial to understand. I cannot overemphasize the importance of starting early. And I'm glad TJ got onto you, because you'd have waited until senior year and then you'd be like, dang, she was just right here. And I never took advantage of her. Let me actually share, let me see. I think I have my drive. Can I share?
Yeah, you should. You're okay to share.
Because I think I found Zuri's. Is it showing? Yeah.
There you go.
This this was Zuri's, similar to what you're talking about. So this is what she got, and this is 2019, 2020. She was in 8th grade going into 9th grade. So literally, this is what you probably get, and they tell you pick 6, 5, whatever electives to study, and this is the core classes that we're going to put them in and all that. What Ichi is talking about is, and I don't know if you have any middle schoolers and parents in here, but if it's just high schoolers, then they would probably understand it better. What Ichi is saying is it is crucial to understand what core classes you're getting, but then also what electives you're getting. So it's not just random, it is geared towards whatever major you're trying to get into. And so when you miss out on a particular class because you didn't advocate for yourself or you didn't request it, you didn't do the homework behind getting that class or getting that option or requesting it on time. You just let the counselor do it for you. And so if you're looking at Zuri's, for instance, this is the other thing I wanted to mention. She'd already done the Algebra 1, which is the first level of math in 8th grade. So what does that mean? It means she can be accelerated and take more math courses than just what is required as a minimal 3 or 4. She could probably do 5 or 6 by the time, which she ended up doing. I think she had like 6 math courses. So understanding things like that early on is to your advantage. And this now propels you to be able to accomplish more courses in the 4 years that you have of 4 years that you have in high school. If you start early, you're able to accomplish more. If you start later, you don't realize how much you're going to miss out on planning out your high school courses. Same thing with the activities. And I don't know if we'll go into depth after that, after this question, but I just want to touch base on using your summers, your weekends, your evenings to do things that are aligned with what you're trying to study. Helps you build that high school resume so that by the time it's time to apply to college, first semester of your senior year, you literally have a solid 3 years to go by. And college admissions like to see whatever it is that you want to study in college, that you have evidence of it in high school. So if, for instance, you want to go into healthcare, did you take advantage of the health sciences classes offered in your school? Zuri was my daughter. She went into construction management and science. Where did she start? Her high school courses as well. And that's a really good way also of understanding, number one, do I really like this thing that I'm going into, or should I pivot? And now you have a chance to pivot early, even before you get to college. You take a couple classes in like computer science and you're like, oh, I thought it was this really cool thing. You take Python in school, or, you know, engineering 101, and you realize, oh, this is not for me. It's really physics based and I do not like physics math. So starting early gives you the opportunity to pivot, and starting early also gives you the opportunity to be able to go into depth in whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. Does that make sense?
It does. So I'm going to ask you this question then, right? Because, you know, as Kenyans, we're latecomers. That's just our nature, right? So when you say start early, give us a time. When should we start sequencing those classes? Are you saying start as in Form 1, in 9th grade? At the very least, you need to start then?
So at the very least, 7th grade, if you're in Georgia especially, I don't know if, no, I think I have a few parents from our state. 7th grade milestones, or even 6th grade milestones, all milestones matter. We have a test that is called the Georgia milestones. They take it after every end of grade or end of course. Your kids would know if you do not know. Ask them about it. But the Georgia milestones, and there's also another testing that's called, it's a state exam, state mandated. It's called a STAR test. If you do well, and this is what I learned from my being in the educational field for so long, this is a data that we used to look at from schools. If you're like a distinguished learner, they know you already understand and you're proficient in the subject. So they will advance you. That's why you hear kids being in a gifted program or a gifted class, or in this case in Georgia, you can start your high school courses in middle school. So 7th and 8th grade, you have a chance to study Spanish or the foreign languages, and that's determined from your test scores. Your Lexile for your reading and all that can kind of like help them gauge that. You can start physical sciences. You can start Algebra 1 like Zuri did. She also did physical science in 8th grade. So that means you can start sequencing those classes early as 8th grade. And I can pull up, maybe I don't have time for that, but what that means is you're able to see, literally with my help, of course, how you can plan out your 4 years of high school and how you can be able to take as many classes as you can, not just the ones, because college, I mean, high school just requires 23 credits. But if you plan it properly, and that's 23 credits in Georgia, if you plan it properly, you can be like my kids who will graduate with like 31 credits. And 31 credits basically means you've taken extra sciences, you've taken classes in like science research, you've taken classes high level in math, you're not just doing the standard. Same with ELA, things like that. So starting early gives you that opportunity. And that is because number one goal is you were able to pass your milestones, because that's the data that they need to be able to place you in some of these classes early on in high school. And it also frees up your schedule. So when you hear a kid saying, I don't have, I can't fit the class in my schedule, it's because they probably have 6 or 7 or 8 classes they have to take in a school year. And if they wanted to take, let's say, a culinary arts, they want to go become a chef, then they cannot fit that because they still have to take the core classes that are required for every school year. So starting early makes you have an advantage of being able to plan your schedule like that. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. But now, now you got me scared, and I think you got some people here scared, right? Because they're like, my child is in Form 2, my child is in Form 3, dang, my child is now a senior.
Yeah.
Is it too late for them?
Okay, so senior, I don't know, senior right now, maybe it's a little bit late. Can't do much right now because we're doing applications. But if you're a junior, maybe. The way to, if you're late, like let's say you're second year, finishing your sophomore year, going into junior year, one way we can mitigate that is summer classes, summer courses. Some schools offer that, some school districts offer that, so you can be able to take that. The other option is doing virtual classes. So virtual classes, you're literally signing up. Some school districts have that. And I'm talking about this because that's what our school district offers. You have to check what your school district offers. If there's virtual classes, you can take maybe like a credit for the semester or maybe stretch it out for the year. And that's on you. You plan out your time when you're going to be on doing the assignments and all that. Then the other option is dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is really an option, but you really have to be careful with what classes you're taking with dual enrollment. It can get into the weeds of it. I can get into the weeds of it right now because it's a different ball game altogether, but that is also an option. So don't feel like it's too late. You can DM me, email me, and then we can look at what your child has been able to accomplish, what their grades look like, because I start at the transcript. The transcript will inform me with all the information that I need. And then from there, we can see, depending on what your strengths are, what your goals are going into your bachelor's degree, then I can see what holes that we need to fill in and what options that we might have. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, and I feel better now. So the message is, it's not too late. You can still pivot, but it might mean a lot more sacrifice on your part. And also that speaks to the intentionality that you have to have.
Yes.
So let's speak about intentionality and advocacy, right? When Chelsea joined, you know, Chelsea's smart, right? Let's just put it out there. You've met her. She's like brilliant. And because of that, I just step away. I'm just like, you figure it out. So I start receiving emails from the counselor saying, yeah, we're not going to put her in this class. We're going to put her in this class. Oh, this class is full, so we're going to remove her from this class and put her in this class. And like most Kenyans here, we're busy. So we're just like, okay, counselor, you know best, right? We outsource it to them.
Yeah.
Why is that not the right thing to do? Talk about the intentionality we have to advocate for our kids.
Yeah. That is, if there's anything that differentiates how we do things here and how things are done back home, that's literally one of them. Because given the chance to advocate for your child, or even them advocating for themselves if they're confident enough, can make such a huge difference. When the school counselors are creating the courses and putting your students in them, they don't personally know you, especially if you're starting 9th grade. And I remember even having the meeting with you. I was like, oh yeah, go see your counselor. And she's looking at me like, oh, I can see my counselor. And you're looking at her like, oh, we can see the counselor. And I'm like, yes, please go meet your counselors. Know let them know you, let them know what your plans are, let them know what your goals are so that you can work in tandem. And if you don't know, please come to me. I will quiz you. There's different variations of career assessments that we can take, and that really helps to guide the starting point of which way we want to go. So I don't know if like someone like Veronica is here, because I think like she's not here. Maybe she'll join later. She's one of my moms who I know we just talked about this the other day. She could have spoken about it. But it is important because if the counselor doesn't know, what they do is just place you in classes. All they have is a big master list and classes and teachers. And so they just go dropping names. You know what I'm saying? They have like what, 300 students to worry about, especially if you go to a big public schools. So if they don't know you, they don't know you need a healthcare class because you want to go into pre-med. They don't know, like for instance, with Zuri, that she wants to go into construction management and architectural stuff. So they will put her in a workout 101. And I'm like, you don't need workout 101. Please go switch that class out and get a different elective. Same thing with, for instance, the core classes. So if I share, let me see if I can share like the high school sequencing. And I know people like Eva over here, they're like, what is going on? Trust me, honey, a couple of years, you'll be here reading about pre-calculus. So when this is Zuri's, for instance, if you look at all the math classes, and you have to look at what is available at your school and what level she can be in. So if she's not strong in math, for instance, if let's say math was a struggle for her, I would know not to put her in AP Calculus AB, and especially if she wants to go into pre-med stuff, which is the case with Chelsea, we did. I put her in a lighter course for math, but then when she came down to her sciences, if you look at Chelsea's paperwork, you would see she has more AP classes in her sciences. So I'm playing on her strengths, number one, because science is what she loves to do and she wants to go into it, but then also looking at what she will require when she starts her college years. So for like Zuri, her program needed more math. She's dealing with engineers, she's doing engineering stuff, she's doing management, project management stuff. So I know she needs math. So, and math is one of our strongest suits, if not the strong, yeah, probably that, and her French classes. She loves her French classes. So knowing which classes you're taking and how rigorous you want to take them and at what level are you taking them is really, really important. So when we work together with my students, this is the goal. Using that information, then I give them the spreadsheet and then they go meet with their counselors and they're like, okay, give me this class. I don't need this class. Give me Spanish. I've had students where they've taken, like to graduate in Georgia, you need 2 years of the same language. I had a student last year who had done 1 year Spanish, 1 year French, and now they wanted to do Latin. And I'm like, you need 2 years of the same language, not multiple languages. You can have 4 different languages on there, but they won't let you graduate. They'll be like, take a summer class or something like that. So meeting the requirements of your graduation, and then also just making sure that whatever class that you're taking, is it an honor, is it a regular class, is it an advanced class, is it an AP, dual enrollment, IB, depending on the level of what is working for you. We don't want to stress you out, but then also we don't want you cruising. You see what I'm saying? So if it's a class,
you're stressing me. You're stressing me. I'm seeing colors. I'm hearing AP, AC, AD. I'm just like going crazy. So let me see if I'm understanding what you're saying. So first of all, and I like what you say. You have to play. And you asked Chelsea this question. You asked her, "What are you good at, and what do you like?"
Yes.
So a lot of parents here, their students are good at something, but maybe
Yeah.
they don't like it. But as
Mhm.
Kenyans, we say you must do maths because, and then we force our kids to be really good at math, but maybe that's not what they like. So one of
Yeah.
the things I'm hearing you say is, one, be understanding of what your child likes versus what they're good at.
Yeah.
Play on what they like and what they're strong at and how it maps to the college courses, right?
Yeah.
So if, like, I kept telling Chelsea, you have to do all the math courses, but she going towards medicine. So you're saying, then don't pack it with math courses just to be a Kenyan
No.
parent to say my kid knows math, right? And then
No.
the second
No.
part of what does she like so that you can pack the coursework with things that she likes and things that will be beneficial to her in college, not just because of the Kenyanism in us that we just want to pack classes. I think I'm
Yeah.
hearing you somewhere say that. And
Yeah.
then I want you to really break down core, AP, AD, all those things. But before we do that,
So, uh-huh.
tell me, you mentioned rigor. Tell me
Mhm.
why rigor is important and what that means.
So rigor basically means, so classes are normally divided into a regular class, a regular like on level is what they call it, standard on level.
Okay.
Let's say like not algebra, calculus. And then the next level will be like an advanced or an AP,
Okay.
which is advanced placement. And then there's dual enrollment. And then if you go to an IB school, they have the IB side of the math. So rigor comes in because if I go back to, let me see. Okay, I lost my thingy. Rigor comes in, and why it's important is because schools want to see that as part of their holistic review. So rigor basically means you're challenging yourself. You're not just taking an easy class, a standard on regular class, just to get an A, but you're pushing yourself to get an AP class, and you're okay with a B. We strive for A's, but it's okay to have a B in like a higher, more challenging course. So if a college application, I mean, a college admissions person is looking at your application and they're seeing, oh, you cruised your first year in math, you had 99, both semesters. Then 10th grade, you cruised another year of math, 99. So the next thing is to challenge yourself, get more curious, do a class that is gonna give you a math problem where you're not just getting a 99. You might get a 95 or you might get an 89, but at least now you're doing college level work in high school, because that's what AP and dual enrollment is. And if you even do better and pass the exam that comes with it at the end of the year, then you even get credit for it. So you might even skip that class when you go to college, because still, when you get to freshman year in college, there's some classes, there's some core prerequisites you have to take. Math being one, basic social studies, ELA, those kinds of courses. But those classes are also offered in high school through the AP or dual enrollment process. So if you're able to cruise through and pass those classes, then you get credit for it. And that's one way to save money, actually. So if you get credit for the AP Lang or AP Literature or AP Calculus, those kinds of classes where you know everybody has to be on that same level when they're starting college, you save money and you don't have to retake it, and you can finish college in 3 years. Some people do that. Does that make sense? Because rigor just basically means you are doing beyond just your basic, regular, standardized class for whatever subject it is. Does it? Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
I think I'm tracking. So if we start from like the beginning, we're saying one, start early. There is always uncertainty, but at least start early so you can be intentional in sequencing things. by doing that with your child, you also get to know what they're good at, what they
Yeah.
like, where their strengths are. So we're
Mhm.
starting early. The other thing that I'm hearing is as you get closer, and especially in high school, start being intentional with advocating for your child.
Yeah.
There's this Kenyan thing of ours where we say, I'm too shy, I'm too embarrassed. They'll think I don't know. There's this, I don't know, there's this thing we have where it's a shame to say that you don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm hearing you say, find a counselor, talk to the counselor, advocate for your kid, and
Yeah.
use someone like you to inform us. So when we have those conversations with counselors, we
Yeah.
don't come from the angle of we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
also hearing you say, beyond getting good grades in, say, a standard course, colleges are also looking for rigor, meaning they want to see that you've challenged yourself in that path by
Mhm.
doing an AP or dual enrollment, something over and above the standard,
Yeah.
because that then shows evidence that this is something you like, you're good at, and you'll be successful at. Am I tracking with you so far?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
And if I
Awesome.
want to add to the classes, courses and course selections as well, I'm a big proponent of taking pathway classes. And pathway classes just basically means everybody has like a room for 2 or 3 electives. Remember, I was talking about you need like 8 classes or 7 classes a year. So your 4 will be your core classes. Everybody has to take math, ELA, social studies, and science. It doesn't matter which level or whatever it is, you have to have those 4. Then it leaves room for at least 3 or 4 other classes. Our school district is 4. Some school districts like Cobb, I think, is like 2 extra. So it depends on how you play it off. But that is an opportunity for you to take electives that matter to you. You're not just filling it up with random courses. And this is what counselors do. Some courses will fill up early because there are courses that like right now, engineering, computer science types of classes, healthcare classes will fill up even before you get there. And that's why the advocacy comes in. So if you know your child really wants to go into that field, you better tell the counselor, mapema, so that they can put you, even if there's a wait list or something for next year, because sometimes it can run into the year next. And also because you have to understand, to complete a pathway is courses, they're grouped into 3-year selections. So like, for instance, this is Zion's. He wants to go into business and finance and become a bigger investment banker, who knows, or something like that, actuarial sciences and stuff. So he's taking 2 different pathways, and he's going to be able, by the time he's done, be certified in financial services and a business technology. So he'll have 2 different certifications even before he graduates high school, right? And what is helped with? It helps him get started in the field, so for him and for Zuri also, if I go back to Zuri's over here, she did the construction one, and she did drafting, and she did OSHA. She got her certification in OSHA. She did construction stuff, and then she did an exam for it once she was done. And so you become licensed in some sort of certificate or industry licensing, and that helps you set you apart. You're getting ready for the field. And when a college admissions person is looking at that, they're looking at you like, oh, she really went for the thing. And so when I go back to the advocacy, I cannot insist enough on understanding what your child wants to do. And then now work with me. We figure out the courses that are available in your school. They might not be just in your school. I mean, your school may not provide them, but your school district provides them. So you might have to be taking a bus or something like that. Some school districts have like what they call career academies. We have one as well. So you have to bus or take the bus or ride over there to take those particular classes, but they are available. So if you're trying to go into engineering, into healthcare, into like my kids with business and finance and stuff like that, there are classes that are geared towards that kind of an education. And so even before you graduate high school, you have the foundations for it. And it really helped even with Zuri, because by the time she was a junior, she was able to get an internship while she was still in high school. And that is because she was done with her classes. She applied and they saw that she's actually in the field. She's doing the thing that she wants, she's talking about wanting to do. And so that opportunity started her off, and she's been able to go back like 3 or 4 times to the same internship. And it's been a wonderful journey just watching how things started from such a small place. Yeah, so yeah, definitely advocate, advocate, advocate. I cannot stress enough. And if you do not understand how it all ties in, please, please contact me.
So this is really exciting because I think I'm also hearing, like, in high school, you can strategize where you take classes, courses, even outside of the school that start preparing you for the workforce almost immediately, right? So that when you're done with high school, you can actually get a job that's aligned to your major, and you can actually get a credible certification that you can use. Like, let's talk about, CNA, or if you're in
Yeah.
networking, CCNA, or even financial
Yes.
services. So if someone comes to you and you can look at the what happens in that county, that city, what resources are available, and you can actually help someone through that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I set an appointment with you, I mean, I didn't know, like, okay, what do I come with, right? But I remember you guided, come with your transcript, stuff like that, right? And we joined the call.
Yeah.
And so now I'm waiting. I was very Kenyan, meaning like, she's going to ask me questions and I won't even know, right? I won't even know. But what I loved about our experience was you had already gone to the school.
Yeah.
You had already looked at the coursework and the sequencing of classes in the school. You had already looked at like what the school offers, what doesn't offer. So by the time I spoke with you, you had already gone through all that, which made me very comfortable because you already knew. You're like, well, your school doesn't offer this, so we'd have to look at this, look that, or the other, right? So I think my message to everyone, because I can imagine there's always a lot of anxiety coming in and meeting someone like you and saying, I don't know, right? Feeling shame on me. As a parent, you should know. So tell us about that. Like, in fact, let me phrase it this way. I'll put it this way. There's this myth that I want us to bust, right? And I'll nudge you with some of the myths that all of us are probably aware of, right? The Kenyan mindset: if my child doesn't get an A, they're not going to a top school. Our time, you had to get a really good grade to go to a top school, right? And I know you'll talk about the holistic thing. So, but I know a lot of us are fixated on you must get an A to get the best school.
Yeah.
The other one we talked about it is wait and see. When you're in Form 4, then we'll start that process of SATs and all that stuff, right? And I think for us, we think that the school has already designed something for us. So they'll call us when they need us, which is in Form 4, right? The other one is, what I went into is the shame. I mean, I don't know about, the people here, Fred, and Titus, Lillian, Eva. I was feeling shamed, like, how I'm coming to you, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make sense that I don't know. So it's very shameful for a parent to admit that they don't know the system, right? So I want you to talk about that. And then, there's the KenyaRican thing where you're like, okay, I guess my child, I've given you everything. It's your turn now. Go figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I take you to school, I take you for soccer. At the very least, you should figure out your way to Kole. I've given you all these opportunities. You figure it out. So I've thrown a lot of things your way, but those are things that I actually feel. And I imagine a lot of people feel. So debunk those myths for us.
Sasa hata nishasahau. Ya kwanza ilikuwa nini? Grades.
Grades. A. And A is the thing that's going to get you to.
So I think coming, especially, I think majority of us are from Kenya. And in Kenya, obviously, it was either KCPE or KCSE, like the two main exams. You could literally sleep through your 8 years of 3 more or your 4 years of high school, so long as you show up on exams day and pass with flying colors. Nobody really cared. I mean, they cared, but they, you know what I'm saying. So the difference comes in, you cannot apply the same methods here. Or even like there in Kenya, a lot of us went to boarding school in high school. And it's like umelipa fees, tuition, it's somebody else's problem, and you go back home and take care of the younger kids, or if you're sunsetting with your husband or whatever. And somebody else is taking care of the kids because, well, you paid the fees and they're gone to boarding and it's somebody else's problem. That mentality cannot work in America. If anything, you have to be engaged from the minute they're born, not even just like when they start school. It has to be a total commitment all the way to have successful kids. And by successful, I mean just all around. It's not just getting the A's, because the A's, yes, every school is going to require a transcript. That's a mandatory document to send in. But it doesn't necessarily mean you having a B or C is that you're doomed. You know what I'm saying? Because schools and colleges like to see other things as well. And that is when I talk about the holistic review process from the college standpoint, right? So if you're gonna look at, let's say, let me share real quick. For instance, if you're looking at GT, where Zuri is at, they tell you it's a holistic admission process. What does that mean? They're looking at your application review and looking at your grades, yes, and your test scores. But then they also look at other things like what they say is a contribution to your community. How do you engage in your community? Are you in leadership of some sort? Are you joining clubs? Are you initiating things? Are you doing startups? Are you doing some NGO stuff, you know, giving back to your in volunteerism and stuff? If you're going into business and finance, are you entrepreneurial? Those are some of the things that they want to see you doing. And this is accomplished outside of the classroom. You might get an F once in a while, but also put yourself out there and challenge yourself and show curiosity in other things that are related to the schoolwork. So it will be going in tandem. So if they're talking about your major selection, they want to see, like I said before, whatever it is that you're trying to study, that you have actually tried it. You've tried an engineering class. This is not your first time attempting an engineering class. You've tried a health science class. This is not the first time you're meeting a health, you know what I'm saying? If you're talking about your essays and recommendation letters, they're gonna need to look at that as well. Those are things that come from you being engaged in your community and you doing the programs that set you up to be able to have an experience to talk about. So if you're looking at, like, let's say Zuri during her internship program, she could come here and tell you, oh, we did this. I used to work with my dad, because that's literally the COVID times that they rebuilt her whole backyard. This is Zuri and her dad. Don't ask where my son is. He does not do dirt. And me, I used to cook. So that's my job. But you can see she loved it. And she would wake up and go to Home Depot and buy the parts and buy the cement and things like that. This is her out on the field when she started doing work with DPR. You can see her hard hat over here. She's actually in the field doing the thing. It's not just speaking about it. Then she volunteered for 2 or 3 years with Habitat for Humanity, the course that President Carter used to talk about all the time. We're in Georgia. It's the least you can do. Go build a house for somebody else who needs the help. You know, so when you align all your things together, this is when she started off in 9th grade doing blueprints. And this is a funny story, actually. I'll come back to it. But when you align your volunteerism, the things that you're doing in school, the clubs that you are joining, the summer programs that you're taking, all that builds up your high school resume to set you apart from another student who probably just has A's on their transcript, but nothing else to go with it. So when parents, I try to encourage parents to change that mindset from how we used to do things in Kenya, or how we grew up, or how our system is in Kenya. In here, it has to be full frontal engagement if you're trying to target, especially if you're trying to target some of these selective schools or even scholarships, because scholarships will also ask, what do you do in your spare time? What do you enjoy? How are you giving back? You know, where do you volunteer? Because I mean, that's how you're gonna deserve the 20,000 K that they're trying to give it to you, you know? So, and then when you talk about the shame, I think part of it is just not knowing. So I always say, you know, inferiority complex or shame or thinking you're less than and small and all these things. Part of it is just education. If you ask the questions, or if you go Googling, you will find a way forward where it doesn't make you feel like it's just internalized. And asking questions always moves the button, I would say. So what was the other myth?
I like that. I'll go to the next one, but I want to, so the shame thing, right? So that also applies to thinking that maybe the best, the counselor knows best, the headmaster knows best, right? The headmaster knows best. So I think what I'm hearing you say things, one, they don't know the best for your kid because there are 300 that they're dealing with, right? You have to get over the shame. You have to get over the shame. That's why you're here. That's why that's why we're having this discussion, to help you feel more empowered to go and say, you know what, I may not know, but now I know where to find it. I know I need to ask questions. I need to be inquisitive. So I like that. Silence, right? If I stay quiet, you know, again, it's also shame. If I stay quiet, somehow it's going to go away, or it will sort itself out. So tell us why staying silent and waiting for it to sort itself out is not something that we should do.
I mean, how are you going to stay silent and somebody else is moving? You know, like, if you're, and I'm not saying come look at it from a scarcity mindset. I know it's abundant. There's all sorts of colleges we can get into, but I want you to think of these two students. One who just has the A's and aces everything that is required of them in class. And then the other student puts themselves out there, challenges themselves, is curious about everything else around them, is starting clubs or joining clubs, is leading, is doing this and that. Which student are you picking for your campus? Because campus also your colleges also want to see the student who's gonna continue carrying their banner, continue carrying the Georgia Tech name, you know? And so if you've already shown that you are a startup person because you have this entrepreneurial spirit, then that means you're the one who's going to GT and get a few buddies and have a startup, or join the incubator class, or the Create X club, and you are the next, you know, Bill Gates or something. And then 10 years from now, you're giving back money as an alumni because you went through the system over here. So those are the kids that the doors are flung open for them. So don't just be comfortable. Push yourself, push your limits. That's what I want to say, most importantly. See what the world has to give, because those are the opportunities that we miss out on. And then we just settle to getting just a regular college degree without experiencing everything else that comes with the school, because you went to a really small school that didn't match your potential. You missed out, because even though you were a high performing student, your potential just kind of like, you know, got to a place where you cannot compete with other students, and then they take advantage of those resources at those big schools. And when I talk about resources, think of it as a gym analogy, right? If you're trying to go Planet Fitness or LA Fitness, I don't know who's into gymming. I'm not one of those people, but I know for a fact because my son is one. He's like, no, Planet Fitness is for like regulars, people who are starting. They don't even have weights to a certain, I don't know how many weights, kilos, pounds, whatever they need. But, or they don't have trainers, or they don't have the pool, they don't have basketball courts. Think of it like that. The college that you want to go into, does it offer all these other resources? Does it offer study abroad programs? Does it offer scholarship money, like the endowment? Like we went to UGA the other day. Oh my God, the business school. The top endowment, they had like 5 people who've given over 10 billion, and 3 of them are anonymous. Anonymous. I'm like, I would be putting my name in caps in English and Swahili and everything. But if you're talking about some of these colleges, what they have to offer is beyond just an education. It's an experience. It's we're global world right now. Go out there, go do, like Zuri, when she first got there, her first year, she went to spring break to Ecuador for a sustainability volunteer shift program, something. They don't have that at just mom and pop kind of colleges, you know what I'm saying? So when you're when you've maxed out your classes and your potential in high school, then you need to match the same in college. Don't just become small and go to just a small school that you become just a little pond of yourself or whatever. And that's my thing. It's like some of these big schools, that is what they offer. And you should be able to take advantage of every little resource. Plus you pay the fees for it. Well, technically you didn't really pay for it because you're getting scholarships because you are Miss Eve's baby. But
you got Miss Eve's.
Yeah. Totally.
It's the same as another
Did you
college.
hang up, or is it me?
No, me.
Am I lagging, or is it you? Oh, hello. It's itchy. Okay. John says I'm good. Itchy,
we can hear
you.
you. Yeah, we can hear you.
What, you can't hear me?
No.
There goes his Google Meet. He needs to be on Zoom. He's in the basement. Oh my gosh. I will never, Eva and I will never stop making fun of him for this. Log out and come back. Does anybody have questions in the meantime?
What?
Oh, you're back?
Yes, I do.
What do you mean? I've been here the whole time.
No, I couldn't.
I've been here the whole time.
I couldn't hear you.
What? Okay, so I'll open it up for questions in a couple of minutes, but what's the last thing you had me say?
Oh, shoot. What is the last thing I had?
That was a test. So what I was saying was, I was going to ask you, right? Mm-hmm. You'll have some people here saying, look, we're in Stato. Mm-hmm. There's tens of thousands of colleges, everything from community college to Ivy League. My kid is going to go to college somehow, right?
Yeah.
I want you to tell them why that. I like what you said at the very beginning when you said there's money, there's resources, there's things on the table. So why should we not just settle for, oh, my child is going to go to college. In fact, there's a community college down the street that my child can go to. Why should we not settle for that?
Especially for kids who are very high potential. And by high potential, I mean the Chelseas of the world and the Zuris of the world who their transcripts are always full of A's. Match that. Don't let them don't let them peak in high school and that becomes the end of it, because it's the same thing. You remember how in Kenya you could have gone to the school down the street or go to Alliance because it gives you more, it challenges you more. You're with a cohort of students who are, you know what I'm saying, engaging in the same wavelength, if you want to say. That is the kind of inspiration I go with, because if you peak in high school and then you kind of just drop off in your college years, you're gonna miss out a lot.
Yeah.
And so preparing to go into some of these really huge selective schools, and I'm not saying this because there's nothing wrong with starting in a smaller school if that's where your level is right now, but you can always transfer. That's one thing I want to make parents be aware. You can start at a school, a community college, and still be able to end up, because as they say, where you start is not how you finish. You can start at that community college because that is where you are. Maybe you transferred in, I mean, you came to America when you're in like your junior year. So it's just been crazy and you didn't adjust well and all that. So you kind of didn't have the grades to take you to the next level. That is fine. Just don't give up. But the thing I always want to say is when you are in some of these schools and some of these selective or highly selective schools that I like to position our kids in, there are resources that come with those schools that are not available in every other average school. And so if you're used to being the one who's challenged, if you're used to being the one who takes extra classes and extra courses and extra advanced level rigorous classes, then that's a challenge you're going to meet at some of these schools. The GTs of the world, the UGAs of the world, you know, you can name it, the Ivy League. So, but beyond that, the networks and the connections that you get from such schools is what is going to carry you into the next level. It's not just going in for the 4 years. You're now setting yourself up for the future, right? That person is the one who's going to have a startup and they're going to hire you, or you're going to go and he has the VC funding for something that you want to start up with, or they are the ones who started their internships early on, so they have I mean, there are so many advantages to networking early and having those connections in some of these big schools. And let's face it, there are some school names that just open doors. It's just period. It's non-negotiable. If you come in and say, I went to Harvard, you know, it's like President Obama when he stands and everybody says, okay, we know where he went to school. So we already know he's smart. And whatever challenges that they're going to face in their workplace, they're used to the rigor, they're used to the challenge, they're used to working in those projects, they're used to collaborating in teams like that push them, you know. If you're talking about study abroad programs, Zuri went for study abroad. GT has a semester study abroad program in France. And she came back, she told me, Mommy, I visited like, I don't know, 13 countries and I don't know how many cities and all that. When else do you get a chance to do that? And it was paid for. It was paid for by the state because, you know, her scholarships and all that, she's able to maintain that. So when I say some of these advantages come with some of these schools, it really is, I have evidence. Like if you talk to, who is still left here? Is Anne Gadenji here still? Let me see. Oh, she left. Is Lillian, are you still here? Is she here? Oh, she left too. Okay. But there are advantages that come with some of these school names. So please stay engaged with your kids. Be attuned to what their interests are. devote money to it. If they tell you they want to study coding and you do not understand it, sign them up. Let them go figure it out. If they come back next year and they're like, oh, never mind, I want to switch. Don't go saying, oh yeah, I spent money last semester, you didn't like it, because that's the attitude that we take. Invest in your children. Invest in your children. It pays off in the end. The amount of money that we spent during Zuri's, like from 6th grade, not even 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, all the way up to high school. Oh yeah, Lillian is here. Let me finish my point. The amount of money that we spent compared to the scholarship money that she got in the back end, you can't even compare. Because it was, yes, we signed up for summer programs here. We signed up for a leadership thing here. But it gave her an opportunity to be able to compete in a school like GT and get in and be funded for it. Because I'll tell you a secret. When she got in, Florida Tech also wanted her. They were the first ones to send her money. They sent her the financial package because the process normally works. You get accepted and then you wait until after regular decisions and then they send in the financial packages. Florida Tech sent her a package, almost 100,000 scholarship, blah, 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 blah. We took that letter to GT and we were like, can you match this, bro? Because I know you've already accepted her, so you want her, but can you match the money? And that's how she was able to get some more departmental aid from her school. So, but she wouldn't have gotten that if she wasn't a strong candidate. You can't go in there and say, I want more money, I want scholarship money, but you literally all you have is your transcript and your test score. Zuri had her internship, and her internship was in her thing that she wants to do. She had her job on the side. She had her volunteerism. She was in leadership in school. She was doing band. Her schedule was full, but it was full and aligned to the things that she wants to do. So if there's anything I would like to tell parents, be engaged with your kids. I like that Lillian is still here. Lillian, I worked with TJ, her son, last year. He's going into GT, but he has to do a conditional pathway because mechanical engineering is one of the, if not the most sorted major in GT. So it was full, so he was put on a wait list, and then they like gave him a conditional pathway. So he has to do 2 years somewhere else and then finish off in GT. But her son was also straight from the get-go. We just gelled because he reminded so much of my kid. And I love Lillian because she, before I even met her, and even with her daughter right now, she has these labels that she puts on her kids. She calls her son engineer. Even before he finished high school, he was already an engineer. And her daughter, she calls her the doctor, but they're still fighting on that. She wants her to be a doctor, but her daughter is a feisty one. She wants to go into law, but she's still in elementary. No, I think now she started 6th grade, if I'm not wrong. But she is so engaged, and that label also just propels the child. You see your child as this human, and they just walk into the manifestation of what you call them to be. And I love that about Lillian. And I was like, I should have, because even my girl, we call her construction girl, even before she graduated high school. And to see somebody else do the same thing was just so lovely. Anyway, Lillian, talk about our work with TJ.
Wow. Hi, guys.
Okay.
Can y'all all hear me?
Yeah.
Let me try and be on video so I look. So let me say something. If Eve calls me anywhere and I can make it, I'll be there and say something. Because as Ichi was talking, I'm one of those people that somebody would tell me, oh, my daughter is a sophomore. And I'm like, ako form 1, I'm a form 2. And that person is looking at me like, what do you mean form 1, I'm a form 2? Because I'm like, I'm like, oh, my son is a junior. And I'm like, oh, you're in your form 3? But anyway, so we are blessed with very smart kids. And I went to a meeting somewhere, and Eve, we were actually just talking, and people were talking about their businesses, and somebody told Eve, you have to tell people what you do.
It's
And I
done.
always like that day was my day because they insisted, because I'd met Eve in many places, but I never heard about what she does.
Hmm.
I think there people were like, no, Eve, you have to let people know what you do. She stood up and she said what she does. I think I was the first person to run after Eve, and I was like, I have a son and I need you to help us. I did not care what it cost, I didn't care what Eve is going to say. And Eve was like, okay, here's my email. The first thing I normally do is you guys send me a transcript, and I don't know if Eve wanted to meet TJ first or no, us first.
Mhm.
And so Eve met Daddy and me and TJ, and we had already sent a transcript. Luckily enough, TJ was already in line, and his pathway has always been engineering. He went to a STEM middle school and was going to a STEM high school by then. And so by the time we were meeting Eve, Eve was able to correct. I think there's something, sociology or something TJ was doing, and Eve was like, why are you taking this class?
Yeah.
And because, like Eve was talking, TJ had already done biology and physical science way in middle school, like 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah.
TJ had already done those sciences. So coming into high school, TJ was already like 3 sciences ahead and 2 math classes ahead.
Mhm.
So we talked to Eve. Eve guided us. Eve was there for us step by step. And luckily, because TJ is also on his own, he can do stuff. I think I only met Eve via Zoom 2 or 3 times throughout the 2.5 years because Eve and TJ were able to do things. TJ was just like, oh, I got a call. We started off by Auntie Eve. Then we ended up with Miss Eve when TJ realized, no, Miss Eve is Miss Eve. Like without, TJ would go like, my counselor is saying this, and Miss Eve would be like, no, we have to look at this. TJ, can you apply here? Can you do this?
Yeah.
Eve helped us. Can you go to these colleges that you guys want to see?
Yes.
We're able to Urban, Purdue, Georgia Tech, UGA. We went to all
Yeah.
those. We
Yeah.
got to UGA, and TJ is like, nothing, UGA is a great school. You're just like, oh, I don't like the engineering program.
Mhm. Mhm.
Their engineering labs are smaller than what I have in high school. So right there, we knew. We kept telling you, can you just apply to UGA? And you're like, no. I know the schools I want to go to. And Eve told us, let TJ, because TJ is already structured and knows what he wants. Let's
Mhm.
So Eve guided us. And then there was, I'll never forget, essays and stuff. I was like, I think tech has like 3 you have to write. Like you do the regular one, then you have to write one to the school, and then
Yeah.
I think for your pathway. Eve was there with us step by step, has guided TJ. I can tell you right now, even after all that, Eve has sent us 2 application for internships already.
Yeah.
But TJ's already done an interview on one.
Oh, you didn't tell me.
After after they've finished working together, but Eve is always there remembering TJ and sending things to us. So I'm like, we can't wait for Maya. She's in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And next year we are on board.
Yeah.
Even know what Miss Eve does, and she's like, she knows how she needs her transcript to be.
Mhm.
I'm fighting for her to be a doctor like you had, but she doesn't like anything to do with that. Parents out there, if you are here, and it doesn't even matter if you know how the school system works, Eve is a good resource on all things coming between you as a Kenyan parent and your child and the school system.
Right.
Even just knowing how to go to when you go to the counselors, what do I say? How do I present myself? I don't want to look like that parent who's like, oh, Asha, okay, no sawa, because that's what I did. I was like,
Yeah.
no, if they say it's sociology, just do it because,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Eve was awesome, great job.
Um,
Yeah, we can't say it better.
Dude, I love it. And seeing TJ and hearing, here's the thing. There's when your friend says, talk to Eve. That's a good endorsement. There's when people like Lillian, they talk about you, great endorsement. But when the kid, I'm talking TJ, I go with my kids, we're drinking smoothies, and he's like, yo, you need to get these guys on the path. That's the greatest endorsement, because that means that KenyaRican is empowered or feels empowered because of what you've put for them. So I know people have questions. I saw a question Kabiro put, but let me start with Eddie. I think, Eddie, you had gone off mic a little bit. You had a question for Eve? Eddie Geshohe?
Yeah, I did have a question, and I think I forgot that and came up with a different question. But yeah, thanks for the message. I think it's great. Eve is, or Miss Eve, I should say, seems very eloquent on that subject. So that's cool. My question is, we are told over and over again that it doesn't matter where one gets their degree from. So why then should we focus on, quote unquote, good colleges? And a follow-up to that, aren't all accredited colleges okay? I mean, we understand that it's preferable to select colleges for specialized programs. So could you speak on that, especially regarding whether one can choose community colleges first and then go on to a four-year college? I mean, what's so wrong with that, or what's so good about that? That's it.
Well, thanks. Thanks for being here. What grade is your child?
11.
Oh, yeah, junior. That's my son as well. Do you know what they want to study?
Yes.
Okay. You want to share or?
Yeah, she wants to be she wants to go into the airlines. She wants to be a pilot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That will be my first one. Haha. So let me preface this to say, there's a school for everyone. Don't get me wrong. We all cannot go to the quote unquote selective colleges, as they are basically called. There is nothing wrong with what I call a normal target school or a safety school. The difference comes in with what else does it provide? And then do you become, or does your child become a shark in a pool? A shark meaning you cannot spread so much because you only have this little. You know what I'm saying? So, and if I go backtracking to what I said earlier, if your child has already shown you their potential, then why limit it by not expounding it some more, And yes, they will get an education wherever they go. But like I said, there are some colleges that you go and the name just goes before you, literally. You could even say, hi, my name is Harvard Eve Kabaya, and the job comes your way. But I do not want to negate that there are schools that are not that highly selective, but will still match the goals that you need and match offer you the career goals that you need. The difference becomes also what kind of a major do you want? For instance, people who want to go into more professional courses or professional work, like they're just doing pre-med, they're gonna need to go into medical school, they're doing dentistry, they need to go into dental schools and all that. So their first degree can be not related to the pathway that they're gonna end up in, which is the case in American way of learning. You don't need to be a biology or a chemistry major just to go into pre-med. You can do law school, do classes related to social studies and humanities and still end up there, so long as you match the criteria of getting into med school. So for instance, you pass your GMAT, what is it called, the med school exam, and you have a 4.0 GPA, and then you have the other things that you require. So in such instances, and that's why I say we have to look at the nuances of every particular student and every particular major that they want to go into and find a college that fits them. So a student who wants to go into pre-med, number one, you have to think of the cost, because they're not just going to school for 4 years and be done with it. They're looking at another 4 + 4 maybe, and another 2 for residency and who knows what. So it's 12 maybe years before they even get a paycheck to come back to them. So in such a case, definitely go to a low-cost school, a school that you know you're going to get the A. It's not going to be hard, like a Georgia Tech type of A. This is when I recommend you taking the standardized classes. You're not doing the AP classes of college, if that's even a thing. But on the flip side is for kids who would just want to go into engineering. There are schools that, like you had Lillian talk about it. If the lab at UGA is smaller than the one that their kid is used to in high school, then obviously something is amiss. So let's look for a school that is going to fit the things that you want. And that's why part of campus tours is important. That if you cannot do a campus tour, the virtual tours online also offer such opportunities. But being aware, and that is why I love doing this work, because my work is very one-on-one. It's not group or cohort or anything like that. I work with a student all the way. And by that, I mean, when they come to me and they say, this is a program I want to get into, I go into the weeds of the research of it. Before we finally say, these are the 10 schools that we are applying to, it's because they match everything that is on your list. Do you want to go to study abroad? Does a school offer that? How is the career center? Do they support students, or do they just do it for the seniors? They don't have anything that they do with the first year, second year. And remember, GPA was important for high school to get into college. When you're in college, your experiences, your internships, the way you attend conferences, your externships, those are the things that are going to matter more than your GPA. You can literally graduate college with a 2.5, but if you have these other things on top of it, it matters more. And so 2.5, if you're talking about, let's say, an engineering program at Georgia Tech or Purdue or something like that, the schools that are known for their engineering programs, or if you're talking about, if it's finance, if you're talking about UPenn, the Wharton School, which is ranked #1, or if you're talking about USC for the film and arts production company, if you're graduating from such a school, they already know you're coming in with not necessarily the grades, but the smarts around it. Then you add that on top with the internships that they were able to provide you, or the study abroad programs, or these other extra things that they add on to complete your full resume of your college experience, that is gonna matter more. And so, and I go back to when you asked whether it's good to go to community college and then 4-year program. If you don't have the grades to go straight up to a 4-year program, yes, you can start at community college and then transfer into completing your program in a 4-year program. I have 2 students who've done that actually. One of them is because they came to American late, so they needed to adjust to the American system. And the other one was just was okay not going to a 4-year program, and they wanted to go into the field to work with their hands, which is fine also. I support that. And we graduated, and that's what he's doing. So community college, nothing wrong with it. But if you want to go to the next level, then don't just do community college and be done with it. Go on to the next level and pick schools that are offering much more than just normal resources that you find in every other school, if that makes sense.
I really like that answer because I think one of the things you're pointing out is if that is the choice that you make it by intention, not just by default. We have no choice, so this person is going there. Make it, okay, they're going junior college because we have a strategy for where we're going. And I do like your point too about the strength of alumni. I think in Kenya, I did BCom. I was in college for BCom, but I don't go around looking for University of Nairobi people who are in BCom, right? But here, especially in the South, if you were in UGA, your dad was in UGA, your grandmother was in UGA, and if your kid doesn't go to UGA, then you're not paying for them, right? And that actually opens doors. So I really like your point. Thanks for asking, Eddie.
By the way, the like even like places like some places like GT, they have that legacy where they can give you a conditional pathway if you're good, if you have like a sibling who's already gone through their shule. Yeah, that legacy will kick in and help your younger siblings and all that. And then also don't forget, more than anything, these schools have such huge endowments, and endowments mean scholarship. And they're supporting you not to pay out of pocket. You can go to school for free, people.
I like that.
Yeah, literally for free. Be a Zuri in this world.
I love it. Shamim, my dear Shamim, talk to us.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, I was late and I'm off camera because we're actually coming from Ella, the banker event. So
hey.
I know. So two things actually I wanted to just comment. Eve, this is so awesome to see you doing this work for our community. Number one, about the schools and where it matters. So my older sister Ori, went to Harvard Law. And you're absolutely right. Harvard has opened up every door, like it's a recognized name around the world, and her opportunities are just unparalleled with what she's done. And now her kid is also in an Ivy at Yale. So if your children are talented and there's pathways to Ivy or a top school, hata kama sisi wenyewe hatukuenda, we definitely deserve to put them. And it can be intimidating and imposter syndrome, but there's pathways to these schools. They have scholarships, but that name is going to be the best asset you can walk around with. So I want to help you sell those, and it makes a difference. But then also the second thing is about the endowments and scholarships. Some of my kids are younger, 6th grade, 5th and 7th, but I work in banking. I'm in a banker. And the number of people who do not qualify for a home loan because that student loan messes up their debt to income ratio, that student loans and carnots knock so many people out from home ownership. So if you can set your kid up in a way and pay now when they're younger for all the things to make them a great candidate for a full ride, including housing, including all the things, and they can graduate debt-free.
Yes.
You are setting them up for their young adult life when now they come to banks and they need it. Even if it's a business loan, we pull up personal credit. And if that student loan shows up, they're less. So I just wanted to add on the importance of them having full rides because it helps them when they do need financing from a bank.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing.
That is so good. Shamim, good to see you. We'll chat. This was really good. Caro, my dear, what's up, Kaz? How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. This has been really good talk and everything. I don't really have a question, but I work in higher ed. So I had some thoughts I wanted to kind of share that Eve had was, sort of backing you and emphasizing what you were saying. Those questions earlier from the beginning, when is a good time to start? The earlier, the better, you know, but also don't give up even if you feel like, oh my gosh, is it too late? So the earlier, the better. I work in higher ed. I work in a career center, and even with our students, we tell them we want to work with you day one as a first time in college incoming freshman. So not in your fourth year, especially when you're getting ready to go out into the world. Question about leaving money on the table. So much money is left on the table. So much money. And most people, what happens is they don't get the big scholarship, they don't get the full ride, and they give up. But I'm here to tell you, take every little bit you get. It counts. Because sometimes some of these will only pay just the tuition, but there'll be someone who's paying for the dorm fees. There's someone who's paying for equipment and all kinds of other things. So take it all. Do not leave. Don't give up if you don't get the full ride or you get like a third of it. Just keep going at it and keep asking. Another thing is people only ask when they're entering college, not realizing you can ask every single year you're in college to keep adding to it, because some will only cover maybe up to your second year or your sophomore, or some things are only eligible once you're a sophomore or a junior. And then you'll have a track record to prove the GPA or prove the activities and things that you're into and all of that kind of stuff. So that's another point I would have in terms of money and availability. So don't give up in the middle of, once you're in, keep going for the scholarships. I really want parents to be involved in getting into their students' thing, but I will caution, don't get so involved that your student is unable to speak for themselves once they're in college. We see this all the time. We're seeing parents showing up at some programs that require interviews, but we're not interviewing the parent, we're interviewing the student to get in. So your student needs to also be able to speak for themselves, articulate what it is that they want, what their goals are, what they have done. But when you are a helicopter parent, it actually works against your student, because they get up in and they actually end up not doing well because they're unable to help themselves. So do it in a way that is also empowering to them and that they have a voice. Running start does not mean you automatically become a sophomore or a junior. Because the developmental things, you might be able to come back. Running start programs are more like sort of taking high school courses or maybe taking the AP classes and things like that. But sometimes you'll see they're entering the college, and this is not so much a student, but the parent is expecting now this student, one whole year is done, and not realizing they'll still have to take the core classes, they'll still have to do all these other things and stuff. So managing expectations around what that means when you're in college. And also, don't rush so much. They still have to grow, they're so ready, this whole thing of let's finish in 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's hard out there. When I think, I'm just like, oh, take this growing up thing back, no. So also it's okay to pace yourself at the same time. So those are just some points I wanted to emphasize and sort of just back up with what Eve was saying earlier.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wow. Eve, what do you think? I mean, Carol, thank you.
I honestly have to say thank you for that perspective from, it looks like it's from a college admissions person actually. But I also want to emphasize.
Yeah, I used to be in admissions at first before moving over to the career side. So I feel like I used to be in that stage when students are entering college and now when they're exiting.
Right. The point about scholarship money being left, even in Georgia, how we have the Hope and Zell Miller. Number one, people don't realize the Hope GPA, Hope and Zell Miller is like what our state funds. And if you have a certain GPA and a test score, you get the Zell Miller, which funds 100% of your tuition in a public school. The private schools might be just capped at some amount because obviously they're more expensive. But the requirement of having the 3.7 GPA and a 1200 SAT, parents don't realize that. And so when they come to me and they're like literally sitting at 3.5 and maybe with a higher SAT, and I'm like, dang it, I wish you had more time to up your GPA to get free money. So when you know that going into 9th grade, don't F up your transcript because every grade counts. Because I think a lot of kids think that they can have leeway because middle school normally doesn't go into like a transcript. You get a report card. But the high school, it accumulates, right? Whatever you have, if it's a high school course, it's going to show up on your transcript, and that affects your grade. Whether it's a workout class, a cooking class, or a math class, it's going to affect your transcript. And so when you don't realize that, because you are used to the report grades or report cards that just show 98% and 87%, and there's no like consequences to failing a class or not getting a good grade per se, you know, you might get a 70, you're not really failing, but you're not getting an A either. All those credits matter. And so when you miss out on like Zelmila scholarship, it really hurts my heart because I'm like, I wish you knew. And so I am always like, make sure the transcript is beyond perfection, because then that guarantees your tuition is paid. All you have to worry about is the other half of the spectrum, which is just boarding fees. And if you want to take the option of staying at home and save money on that, that's also an option. So yeah, scholarship money, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I like that. I think what we'll do as part of this, Eve, is we'll put together like a one pager of like just things that you should know, like that thing of 3.7 plus SAT scores is equal to that.
Yeah.
If we have that and people are aware of that, then they can work toward that. I know Chris has a question, but I want to read a couple of comments. Kavito is, I don't know if he's here. He asked, thanks so much for the great info. Please touch on AP and dual enrollment. So I'll ask you to touch on that. Cessa says, this has been very helpful. I'll be in touch with Maya, her daughter. Good point on helicopter parenting. Caro, yeah, stop rushing into adulting. They'll have the rest of their lives to adult. And that's a Kenyan thing, you know, yeah, let's just go quickly, right? So I like that. Like the balanced conversation, know your student and play to their strengths. At the end of the day, this is about them and being very intentional with empowering them. And so to your point of colleges, if they can, then so be it. Don't put a ceiling on them based on your experience or your fear and shame, right? Let's see, Milka says, so glad to be in this empowering meet. Mine is 7th grader. We'll reach out to you, Eve, this summer as we head into 8th. So good job so far. Answer Kevito's question, then I'll eager to hear what Chris wants to ask.
So AP and dual enrollment, I always say it's very nuanced and it's very personal because not all kids study the same, manage their time the same. And so when you're talking about AP classes, there's some classes that you can start even in 9th grade.
Wait, let's start with what is AP? AP means?
Advanced placement. Advanced placement is more rigorous, and you get credit for college if you pass the exam at the end of the school year, which is in May, normally first week of May. Dual enrollment basically means you're like, let's say if for us, we partner with Clayton State University. Some schools in Cobb may partner with Kennesaw, and you can take classes in Kennesaw or virtually through Kennesaw and get credit for that. Now, I'm always looking at what the student is trying to achieve, meaning what career goals they have, before I advise on which way to go. For instance, if a student wants to study in California, they want to go into engineering in California, and the only school that they can partner with to do dual enrollment at your school in Cobb County will be Chattahoochee Technical College. A school like, let's say USC, for instance, everybody knows USC. It will be more challenging for them to accept that grade, because Chattahoochee College, even though it's a college, a community college, you can take their classes there, is not at the same power level as where you're trying to go. And so in such an instance, I say go for AP because AP is nationalized. AP is actually internationalized. You can take AP in Kenya and it will be the same exam as the one you take here at the end of the course or the end of the year, or even in Europe if you're in Europe. So AP is standardized, the exam will be the same, the scoring will be the same. How they score also is gonna be the same. So if you're getting a 5, which is the highest score in AP exams, someone in Kenya is getting a 5, someone in Oklahoma gets a 5, and Georgia gets a 5, then the school in USC can gauge all y'all on the same level and say, oh, for sure, they passed that test. But if you're bringing in a score from Chattahoochee Technical College, for instance, they're like, I've never had this school. I don't know what their curriculum looks like. I don't know how rigorous it is. So in such instances, I say take the AP. Now, if it's someone who's going to be in state and just wants to go maybe like Georgia State, Kennesaw, maybe UGA, something like that, because they already recognize the Chattahoochee Technical, not to say that it's gonna be a guarantee the course is gonna transfer, but you have better options of saying, okay, let me take the dual enrollment course because I'm in Georgia. It probably will transfer to Kennesaw State or Georgia State or something like that. But the highly selective schools especially, they prefer the AP courses because then they can gauge you amongst a pool of other students in the same way, if that makes sense. And then, but then also dual enrollment basically means you're taking college classes on your own. Not necessarily with your cohort of students at school, at high school. So if it's a group project, you have to ferry yourself to the KSU to be with the KSU kids to do it there. Some schools offer the virtual option as well, but you have to be ready for dual enrollment. You have to be ready mentally, time management wise. If your kid is not good at all those things, I do not recommend taking any advanced classes in the first place, but definitely not dual enrollment. Because if you're those helicopter parents, as they're talking about, where you go in and check their campus portal to check their grades, every now and then the teacher emails or the coach emails to say, oh yeah, you're behind in your classes, this assignment is missing and all that. You do that in high school. But once you're assigned in a dual enrollment, a college class, the professors don't do that. So you as a parent, you don't have access to what your student is doing or how they're doing, whether they're passing or failing, whether they need help, whether they need intervention of some sort, unless the child tells you. You see what I'm saying? So dual enrollment really requires a child who is ready for that next level type of independence, if you know what I mean. If you still need to partner with your parent in the day-to-day activities of your schooling, then you might as well stick with AP, because AP basically means it's a high school teacher and empowered to teach college classes. So it will almost always feel like you're still in high school, you're still engaging with them. And the counselors have access, so they can call you in if you're failing or something like that. They'll be like, hey, let's check in. Is it a mental health thing we need to look at? Is it bullying? What is it that is making your grades go down? If it's a dual enrollment, you're on your own. So you might as well be top-notch type of a student to be able to take dual enrollment. That's a big difference. And then obviously, there are other smaller differences we can get into. If you want to message me on the side, we can walk with you. If you're trying to determine which way you want to go between AP and dual enrollment, I can sit with you in a meeting and we can talk about that and see what works.
That was so good. Like, I feel so good. I feel like I can go and tell people, like I can preach AP versus dual enrollment, right? Like, never even thought about it, especially in the way of where do you want to get to?
Yeah.
The example of USC and Chattahoochee Tech is so spot on, right? Because if you want your child to achieve their greatest potential, and that means them moving to a different place, then you have to make very informed choices very early, because you can mess them up.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. I'd seen, yeah, Chris, and then I had seen Titus's hand also up. But Chris, let's go with you. What's your question?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Chris here in Charlotte. Mine was more things I've seen that I wanted to share with the Kenyan community. And because I went to college later in my life with kiddos, and the things I really noticed in these colleges where we lost as Kenyans is you are just sent here. You work full time, you pay your college, you are alone. But we also lost a lot along the way because when those kids were on campus, they were networking.
Yeah.
So when you graduated, you are like, where do I find a job? And you see your whole classmates, they have gone to one company.
Yeah.
Because these kids are all connected to the same college, to the same parents. Or another thing I wanted to add, also what I saw is if you leave, if you come from these community colleges, third year, you're an outsider. I sat in some classes where I'm like, hey, somehow everybody's bombarding 90s. What's going on here? Kumbe, these kids have been sharing info from the first year, second year with old networks from the past. And then later on, I joined internships. And right now, internships is not the word we're told. Third year, oh, you do college, third year ingia. Now, first year, you have to get in those internship first year. Because what is really happening now is companies study you for 3 years. By the third year, they have made a decision of who they'll hire when they graduate. So the guys you're seeing third year, these are guys that is the last result of an internship. So just wanted to add that because even I have people from Kenya who very smart guys, they came here, but just because they weren't part of the network, they never became partners in companies.
Yeah.
Because these guys went to college together. When they choose partners, who are you? So I just wanted to add that in there. Also, make sure your kids, when they in gear college, they join chapters. All these chapters, professional chapter, like my background is supply chain. So what they were doing is they bring you in the company on a weekday, they bring you to corporate events. You're able to meet the people who hire you. So the guy who is in college, chilling in the dorm, not involved, you're missing opportunity. So thank you guys for putting this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I want to add on to that, there's also this thing about staying in school or going home. And I get finances can be a big deal that determines whether you stay on school grounds or you be a commuter, what they call a commuter. So like Kennesaw State and Georgia State are perfect commuter schools in our state. Basically means people go take classes and everybody goes home. So if you go to such a school, it is hard to engage and be involved because everybody just disappears at the end of the school day. But if you go to a place like GT or UGA, which is its own little city in the middle of nowhere, where you're forced to stay there over the weekends, you form those networks. That's when you get those opportunities to do the tailgates and go for the football game. But then also that's where you connect with people. Oh yeah, I started my internship, If you always go home, you see what I'm saying? You'll never get an opportunity to grow beyond your classroom or beyond your 4 class walls. And so I always say, avoid, if you can, maybe your first year, yes, you can stay at home because money is, it is what it is. But if you can find a roommate, a couple, 3, 4 people where you can rent a place and stay in Shule and separate yourself from your mother and her cooking and everything that's good at home and comfortable, please do that. I tell kids all the time, don't stay your 4 years just commuting and going back home. There is value in being away. There are connections that you form and those organizations that you participate in that force you to go into those little groups and form those families and those new extensions. That's going to really be valuable because, at the end of the day, it's not like you're planning to go back to your mom's basement. But if you never leave your mom's basement, it's going to be hard to ever leave if you don't do it in your college years. So
I love that. I realize that we're over time. We've gone like 22 minutes over time. So Eve, I appreciate your time. Chris, thank you so much for your comment. I'm thinking about, my experience. I think I've been to the most colleges,
Mhm.
and that wasn't by intention, right? From Strathmore College, University of Nairobi BCom, Miramar Community College, where I graduated from, DeVry, San Diego State, Georgia State, UGA. Like, I've been to all those places, but that journey has been one of no choice or limited choice, right?
Mm.
You don't have money, so you go with the limited funds you have here and there. And I think what's important in what you're talking about, Eve, and I think a lot of parents here can relate because they probably went through the same journey I have. It doesn't have to be like that for your kids,
Mm.
right? I remember we used to say when Kenyans come, let them work at a gas station or, at fast food so they can build that resilience. I mean, we did it. So, that's that is the path that they don't.
Yeah.
They can be the best people they can be. Just allow them. I really like what you said. This person is trying to demonstrate to you how important it is to be in this program. You as a parent owe them to give them the best.
Yes.
Just because you walked 10 miles bare feet,
Yeah.
as Kenyans like to say, doesn't
Yeah.
mean they have to walk 10 miles bare feet.
Mhm.
Give them a car, and then they'll be the next innovators of the spaceship, right?
Yeah.
Once you make them walk, then they won't know anything more than walking and, what did you call it? That scarcity model that we have. So I think as you're talking, it's just emphasizing more and more how well we can empower our kids by just giving them all this information.
Yeah.
So let's see. I see. Joanne Grady. She's given some good links here. Super
Yeah.
great talk, George. Those with high school kids, check this out. Joanne, professional college student. Yes, great session. There is no medal for. Hey, Joanne. Me, I don't like Joanne coming over here because she just drops poyos. There is no medal for suffering. What? Joanne,
There is none.
you know what? I like that. Shamim has said, me and my toys are not working fast food. They're studying Target, right? Okay, so as we wrap up, I think it's good to wrap up. Any final questions? I mean, look, I always say this when I do our Wezesha session.
Yeah.
This session is free. The next time you talk to Eve, you're going to pay. So if you have a question, this is the right time to ask. Get it free now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to pay for it later. So
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
I know we're over time, but anyone have any question? Don't go to bed with a question burning in your mind about how you can help your child. So going once,
Twice.
twice. Titus, you look like you want to ask a question. You just look like you want to ask a question. Okay. So, Eve, I'll leave it to you to tell us what are the 2-3 takeaways from this, and more importantly, what are the 2 or 3 actions that we can do starting tomorrow?
Hey, tomorrow. Really? You just sign up with me. If it's tomorrow, I could use a couple dollars here and there. I think the most important thing is to realize how we did things back home is very different from the experience that these kids have over here. And there's opportunity, and we need to grasp it and take advantage of it. And it's going to serve them well. The rate of ROI, once they're done with the process of going through high school, but with a targeted, clear picture of what they want to study, is gonna be so rewarding to them on the back end. I like to share my site if someone hasn't gone on to it, but this is a thing that I coined for after I was done with a few of my students, and I was like, this is how I want to phrase it. There's 5 P's to your ikigai. And the ikigai just basically means, it's a Japanese concept that just means what is the meaning of your life? You know, what is the worth? What is the value? What is it that you bring to the table, right? If you think of it that way, the 5 Ps I want you to remember is passion. For your student, what passions are they showing? What interests are they showing? What clubs and hobbies and things that they want to get into? Be engaged in those things. Pay that money. If they come to you and say it costs $200, mommy, find that $200, because that is how it starts. And then you build onto it, right? Proficiency, the same thing goes to mastering the thing that you're doing. If it's school, master it. If it's the activity, master it. How you become a leader is through mastery, right? How you become a good communicator, a gifted communicator, that is through communication and through participating in some of these programs that give you a challenge or a competition, and you show your mastery and proficiency in it. That is what colleges like to see. What is your purpose? You know, how are you serving your community? How are you volunteering? What impact are you showing or giving back? Or are you, like my son is into volunteering with one of his brotherhood groups, and they go serve the community. They do Christmas gifting of sweaters, and they go feed the homeless, things like that. How are you giving back, you know? It's not just about you in this world, how you globally call being part of the community. And then if there's anything that is able to make you money in the long run, are you seeking internships right now? Work is good, but if you can find work that is related to the activity that you want to go into or the major that you want to go into, like for instance, how Zuri started her internship in construction when she was still a junior in high school. That has opened numerous doors, scholarship money from it, the organizations that she's partnered with since. And it's just beautiful to watch how it has paid off just because she did 8 weeks of a summer internship. And the same thing with, even if, let's say, if you're going into healthcare, getting that CNA certification in high school, it's gonna open different doors compared to someone who just works at Mickey D or Wendy's, or like Shamim and Liam who work at Target. So working in the field and getting paid for it, that is the next P. And then when all that aligns together, it's your path, because you're doing the thing that you love, you're giving back to the community, you're working in your strengths, you're working in the things that you're successfully in, that it sets you apart from another student who's just shuffling around between programs that are not aligning to one another. One day you're doing art, the next day you're doing math, the program in math, and the next day you're doing coding. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, but we want to go deep into it. By the time you're getting into your senior year, you have at least 2-3 years of the same kinds of programs that you've been doing. And that's what colleges like to see. So if I'm gonna finish off is to say, I'm gonna finish off by saying that it is important to have everything tying in together. If I was gonna put a string between the classes you take, the programs you do, the volunteering that you do, it should all tie in together. And that is what completes a holistic process or review when college admissions are looking at your application on the other end in your senior year. So sign up with me. I'll help you book classes. I'll help you find activities. I'll help you with getting your essays ready, your college searches, all that. I do different programs. I have one program for the 8th to 11th graders, which is basically making sure you have everything that you need, the backbone of that resume. And then once you're a rising senior, which is what we're doing right now, I'm taking up the next cohort, is working with students from their junior year, spring semester, to start looking at colleges, college fit, college timeline, where to apply. Do you want to stay home? Do you want to go away? Do you want to go back to Kenya? I don't know. So yeah, it's 2 different programs, but they're all correlated. If you start early, you're starting off with the Jumpstart program, and then the applications and all that comes back later. So yeah.
So when I talked about this is a free session until people get charged money, Isaac immediately put his hand up. So Aizo, as we would have said in Kenya, it looks like you have a question, then I'll close you off, Eve.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Eve. That was fantastic. I really benefited from that. I think there's a lot to learn from that. My profile is a little different, though. I got to hear of this platform. Someone shared Dr. Kamanu's profile. So I'm hoping we'll also get to hear from Dr. Kamanu, because I have a few more questions targeted towards him. But others, I've really enjoyed myself today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is awesome, and he calls me Dr. Kamano. Hey, that is okay. Isa, we'll talk. Titus says this has been a great session. Thanks to the organizers. We'll be reaching out. And how do you reach out? EveKabaya, evekabaya.com, right?
Yes.
Let me flash it up here so people know. Right? evekabaya.com, EveKabaya.com. Eve, this has been fantastic. Everyone is just talking about how good it's been. For me personally, it's been a fantastic journey with you, and I commit to staying connected with you and Chelsea through her journey.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who are not able to join, so we'll share this out so that people can contact you.
Good luck with the notes.
Don't worry, Gemini will take care of the notes for me. I got this. Don't worry about that anymore. But sincerely, Eve, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have stuck for 2 hours. Thank you. Thank you, Lillian, Shamim, Florence, Caro. Thank you so much for weighing in as well. So with that said, empowering the KenyaRican, next week we come with Mushunu. This is going to be the most interesting one I've done. We've never spoken to a young man about his experience growing up. We've talked to young women, and then Florence will kick in and talk about parenting, which I think will tie in a lot with what you said. So look forward, those of you who can join next Wednesday and Thursday. Asante sana. This has been.
I just want to say, Joanne is here. Oh my gosh, Joanne, she always kicks my butt. And she's the first person who made me publicly, I can't even speak anymore, publicly say that the work that I'm doing in that event that Lillian was talking about. So I appreciate you, Joanne. And Florence, I cannot wait to hear from you.
Yeah, Joanne, everywhere I go, I see Joanne. Joanne.
Oh, we love Joanne.
We love Joanne. But I think that's the essence of this community. Again, Wezesha's mission is to empower through shared experiences. So when people come and share experiences, at least 1 or 2 people walk away well informed, and that's going to uplift our community. So, Santeni Sana, you guys have a good night. And
thank you, Ichi.
Of course, anytime. See you. Oh, is that what they do?
Yeah,
okay,
Gen Z's.
Okay, bro. 6, 7, whatever. Okay.
So, bye.